It is a truth universally acknowledged that when given enough time and enough monkeys and enough typewriters and an infinite amount of time, I have to emphasize an infinite amount of time, eventually one of them's gonna write the complete works of William Shakespeare. This is called the infinite monkey theorem. It has existed for a very long time. It's very silly. And a couple years ago, I thought, well, nobody's a sillier monkey than me. I decided to make my own little mini typewriter experience. And you might be wondering, well, why? I don't really have an answer for that. I was just curious. To create my monkey at typewriter simulation, I did have to acknowledge a couple of things first. One, I don't have an infinite amount of time. Two, I don't have a typewriter. And three, nobody wants to watch that. I wanted to create something within an undetermined amount of time that would definitely be shorter than infinity. My idea for building this experiment was to use letterboard letters as a mechanism for like randomly drawing and then put them on a letterboard. Except I never really put anything on the letterboard. I just used it as like a table for containing the letters. I would just draw a handful of letters out of the bag and then go on my merry way. I thought it would be a fun little bit for me to just sit down and slowly but surely write an entire sonnet by randomly drawing letters, and if I didn't draw the next letter of the sonnet, I had to just stop for the day. And so this was a daily project. I actually started this on TikTok. I no longer post on TikTok. I've never talked about it, but yeah, I stopped posting on TikTok a little over 2 years ago, and this project has sat on there unfinished since then. But I never forgot about it. It really mattered to me, and I wanted to finish this. So I kept working on it, and now it's done. I had basic rules for this project. You draw as many letters as you can in one day. You do have to draw them in order. If you don't draw the next letter you need, you gotta wait until the next day to continue to draw more. If you don't draw the letter that you need that day, you do have a little grace period of just drawing an extra letter from the bag just in case. It was like a fun little part of the game for me where like, oh, I didn't draw anything. I can draw an extra letter though and see if that's what I need. And that did work. I think maybe like a couple of times. It was not consistent enough to actually be helpful. It was just a fun little mechanic I added to just give me like a little bit of hope throughout the process. I was just curious to see how many days it would take me to complete a Shakespearean sonnet with the rules that I had in place. This was the test. This was the plan. The sonnet I decided I would be using to write randomly throughout this project was Sonnet 116, which is let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, the rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. This was the sonnet I wanted to write. Because, you know, it's kind of fun. It's a cute little love poem, and I knew that I probably would get sick of it. I did get sick of it, and I got an answer. Because as you can see, it's right here. It's here on this lovely door I have. Do you hear that? It's the monkeys. One of the biggest hurdles of this project was the amount of time that it took. It wasn't just the number of days that it took, it was the energy that it took to continue doing this day to day. When you draw for several days in a row, absolutely nothing you need, it's not fun. It's a deeply unenjoyable process when you're not getting what you want and you have absolutely no progress made for like a week. It's awful. It's miserable. What drove me forward was the fascination around the statistics of this project. I just wanted to know how long it would take to do something so simple just to put a couple of letters on a piece of paper. I don't have an infinite amount of time, but for the sake of this project, I have to get this done. So the other thing about this project that is different than the monkeys on typewriters thing is that eventually they would write all of the right letters in the right order all at once. I cannot imagine how hellish it truly would be to write this beginning to end just in one shot, because no. And also I don't have enough letters for that. This killed me. And it's so simple too. I don't really know why it dragged me down the way that it did, but like, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that bad. But it did take a lot of energy to do. Eventually, once I got back into the project, once I decided that I wasn't filming the rest of it day by day on TikTok, because that was the other exhausting thing about it. I did not like doing day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. I did not learn my lesson from nail polish lasagna. I did not learn my lesson from Altoids or sewing supplies. I didn't learn my lesson from any of it. I don't do well with daily episodic stuff. I can't make it. I can't do it. It does not end well for me. I don't know why I kept trying. So I said, you know what? I think that the only way for me to finish this project mentally well is to take it off of the episodic stuff. I gotta just finish it on my own, in my own time. I just continue to just grind through the rest of it. Just do a bunch of days all in one day. I'd film for like, I think maybe like an hour at a time to finish this. It took a while because it takes time to draw and redraw and count and make sure that you got all of the letters. I messed up a little bit here. I think I got that part on film. I think this was part of the TikTok series where I realized I was writing the wrong line, which is the other part of this that's a problem, which is human error. If I had continued to make this an episodic series every single day, the number of days that it would have taken me to finish this sonnet would have been 217 days, which is more than half a year. This would have taken me more than half a year to complete if I had continued doing daily uploads. Instead, it took me 2 years. I don't know what I thought I was expecting from this. I finished it. I did it. That's a lot of days. I kind of did like a couple of mess ups on this. I don't know. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't pulling enough letters or I was pulling too many letters, and it just felt... It felt like it needed further research in a way, even though this is not really... This is so far from scientific, you know, because this is not an exact science. There are so many variables happening right now. I was really curious about, is this really the most consistent number of days that this sonnet could be completed in? And I kept thinking about that. And I thought, well, while I have, you know, plenty of time to film now, it's not going to be uploaded on YouTube for an indefinite amount of time. I could just do another experiment and just see how long it would take me to do it again. And so I give you Sonnet 116, but again. Yeah, I did this a second time. I was like, I need more research. And so this looks a little bit more concise than this one is. I only messed up like twice. 3 times. I only messed up a little bit less than the last one, which is pretty good, I think. That's a sign of progress. That's a sign of me easing into it, you know? The second rendition of this sonnet took me 199 days, which is a little bit different than 217 days. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit of a bigger range than I was expecting for like time spent on this. This is like, this is, I don't know. I feel like I need more data. So I got more data. I did this not once, not twice, but 5 times. I did this 5 times. I'm not joking. I did this experiment 5 times. You think I only did this 3 times? No, bitch. Look at that. 4, 5. Okay. Okay. I needed the data. I needed the data. Once I did the first one, I was like, okay, let's do a second one. The second I started the second one, I was like, I need to do a third one. And once you start thinking about needing more data, the more you crave the data. And so that's how I ended up here with 4 more sonnet renditions of this than I was expecting to do. Now that you know that I did this sonnet experiment 5 times to understand the data, I will tell you what I have learned. Here we go. I kind of wish that I did more just to kind of have even more data, but I was losing my mind by the end of the 3rd one. I really thought about doing more than 5 of these, and then I realized that I didn't want to. I had a really hard time every single time I wanted to film this project. Once I was partway through sonnet number 4, I told myself, Nickel, you need to get this done. You need to finish this. You are massively struggling with the motivation to do this, so you need a motivator. You need something in your life that is going to impact your normal day-to-day life harmlessly in a way that will make you go, man, I need to get that letterboard project done. I need to get the data. I need to finish this. I need to get it just completely done. We need an extra rule here. And your extra rule is going to be that you are only allowed to listen to 1 song until you finish this. That's the kind of thing that sometimes I need to just kind of push me to finish working on something. Is just like there's an extra little hey, this is something that you need to get done, and in order to get it done, you have to do this, and you have to continue to deal with this until you're done. So you might be like, well, wouldn't listening to only 1 song until you finish a crazy long project drive you insane? And my thought was, yeah, I think that would drive me crazy. So I committed to it. I was like, you know what? This will add to the story. This will add to the journey. And that's always what I want things to do when I'm working on any of these. I always want it to be something that adds to the journey for me personally. That it's something that I think about when I think about this project, and I think about this project positively. I really love doing these things, and I really love the process of going, man, I have to get this done, but I have to do this, and I have to do this. It's enjoyable for me. I think it's fun. I think it's silly and stupid and cool, and if I have to listen to the same song for 4 days in order to finish this project, I will. So what was the song? On a Tuesday evening, when I was in the middle of sonnet number 4, I told myself, okay, Nick, help. Until you are finished with sonnet number 5, you are only allowed on the way to work, on the way back. If you want to listen to music, you can only listen to this song. You can watch YouTube videos, you can watch videos, you can watch TV, but if you want to listen to music, this is the only song you can listen to. And that song was Give Me Everything by Pitbull. That song was in my top 5 last year on Spotify. I don't mess around when it comes to that song. I love that song, and I thought that this would make me hate it. But a funny thing about my brain that I forgot about was that I'm incredibly good at accepting intentional background sound. Instead of absolutely hating Give Me Everything by Pitbull, I accepted it into the white noise of my mind, and it became a motivation song. And whenever I worked on drawing anything for this for about 3.5 days after that, I started on a Tuesday, I finished it on a Friday evening. It was an excellent motivator. It helped me lock in. It helped me focus. It's such an upbeat song. It was great. It was a motivator, and it really made me work hard. Me not working hard? Yeah, right. Picture that with a Kodak. I have such a deep love for this project. I don't know if I would ever do this again, but I have a deep love for this project, and that's always where I want to leave these. So let me give you the rest of the stats on this day. Sonnet number 1. We learned that it took me 217 days. Sonnet number 2 would have taken 199 days. Sonnet number 3 would have taken 184 days. Now we're kind of seeing like a little bit of like compression here, and I was like, oh, okay. So as I got more and more used to the project, as I eased into it, the days went down a little bit. 184 days, maybe that was like the amount of time that it actually would take somebody to do this. Sonnet number 4 took me 213 days. Needless to say, that theory was out the window. Finally, the 5th sonnet that I pulled for took me 195 days. So it's all over the board. A range from 184 days all the way up to 217 days. That's not consistent at all. And this was never meant to be a scientific experiment, but then I was really fascinated by the data that I kept wanting to study it like it was. And the thing is that I found some statistics that fascinated me about all of these. I continued to do more and more numbers. I continued to do more number crunching, and this is what I came up with. One of the most frustrating parts of this project was the amount of time I spent not pulling anything that I needed at all. And I did calculate the percentages for every single day that nothing was successfully pulled, because if I didn't get the first letter that I needed, I didn't get anything at all. And so I would just like to read you some of these percentages that I found. On the first sonnet attempt, the percentage of days that nothing was successfully drawn was 32.26%. A third of the days that I would pull something, nothing would get drawn. For Sonnet 2, this percentage went up a little bit to 36.18%. Third sonnet, it was 35.33%. Sonnet 4, it was 41.31%. And for Sonnet 5, it was 37.95%. These were all of the percentages for the amount of time I spent drawing nothing. The number of days I spent drawing absolutely nothing for this project. Just staring at the ground going, the biggest reason why this project was such a nightmare was because of the punctuation. I let the punctuation be part of the project, and I kind of regret it. I wish I had just kept it to letters. I don't know if I did this again, I don't know that I would do the punctuation, because let's be real. First of all, when it comes to the sonnet itself and the construction of the sonnet, there's a lot of different versions of this. This is the version that I used in the Norton Anthology of Poetry. This is the shorter 4th edition. It has like a certain setup of the punctuation. I have 1, 2, and 3 complete works of William Shakespeare here. And a couple of them have different versions of the punctuation. And so I feel like at the end of the day, maybe I shouldn't have let the punctuation matter as much. And then I also have a Norton Anthology of English Literature as well that also has Sonnet 116 in it. All of these have, I believe it's consistently the same 2 different versions. So it's not crazy different, but it's still like, well, that's inconsistent as well. Punctuation was such a big problem in this project because, like, it took up so much time. In fact, I have the numbers for that too. For the first sonnet run through, for punctuation exclusively, it took up 13.36% of days where like nothing was pulled at all. It just completely stopped it because I couldn't draw anything that day. I had a ton of letters, and because I was looking for punctuation, I couldn't get anything done on a specific day. And punctuation for Sonnet 1 took 20.28% of the total stops. Like every single time I had to stop a line, 20% of the time it was because of punctuation for Sonnet 1. For Sonnet 2, Sonnet 3, Sonnet 4, Sonnet 5, 20% of the time I was stopping a letter. I hope that makes sense to you. I did a lot of calculations for this project. I did a lot for this I made tables. I made tables for this. All of this to say, punctuation being a problem most of the time took up about a 1/5 of the time I could have spent working on other things. And the thing is that, yeah, I mean, the punctuation is like tiny. It always just like went to the bottom of the bag because it weighed less than all of the other letters. And so it was just like, you just hung out at the bottom of the bag because I'd be physically drawing them. I cannot tell you how frustrating that was. Just knowing that oftentimes when I was looking for a specific letter, if I was towards the bottom of the bag, if I didn't get to the punctuation fast enough, I'd likely be waiting for like 4 technical days in order to even pull any punctuation at all, because it would just settle at the bottom of the bag. Basically, I didn't have enough of certain letters. It was the weight of the letters, it was the number that were in the bag, it was whether or not the letter had already been used, because I wasn't replacing any letters back in the bag. I was putting them into a separate container and then getting through the bag and then refilling it. The rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper with this project. It just continued. It continued to just create more and more problems that just like, okay, why are we here anymore? The total of days out of all of these 5 runs that I did of the Sonnet 116, that punctuation was the reason why the pull for that day stopped, was 217 days that the punctuation itself stopped. That's like an entire, that's more than an entire sonnet would take worth of pulls. That is so many. Of those days, the number of days where punctuation caused me to be able to pull literally nothing, I was unable to write literally anything down that day, the number of times that it impacted that was 148 days of just like nothing. That's quite a bit, actually. That's actually a lot of days. So you might be asking, what does this mean? What an excellent question. What does this mean? What does any of this mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I was just curious how many days it would take me to do this. Apparently the range is between 184 days and 217 days. That range, or at least that's the range that I got. But the story does not end here. Would it really be one of my project videos if I didn't really like make something? So I happen to have access to the app Procreate. I made a little digital art. I hadn't really done that before. But through this project, I learned how to do some fun little lines. This is something that I have done before, like ages ago when I was in middle school. I was obsessed with Khan Academy videos. I think I've talked about this before. One of the Khan Academy people, Vihart, she would do a bunch of different like math art videos, and one of them was about drawing as many little squiggly lines as you can on a piece of paper, and it all being one line. Like you would just draw one line and just continue to draw it throughout the entire page without ever lifting your pencil. And that's what this is, except in digital art form. It's just one really long squiggly line. I did some outlining, and then I added, you know, a little bit extra, some extra colors and stuff. I added some extra outlining so that you could see the words, I never written or no man ever loved. And this is the last line of Sonnet 116. And I thought that was like a lovely way to kind of encapsulate this project of just this unending one long line creating this eternally known line, I never written or no man ever loved. And I thought that was a good way to kind of encapsulate what this project means to me, which is an eternal line about an eternal line. And yeah, I made that. It was really fun. And if you zoom in like really close on it, I wrote the entire sonnet inside the letters of the sonnet. So all of the like pink filled in on all of the letters, that's all that's the sonnet being rewritten over and over and over again. And actually that's the Poetry Foundation website version of it. So that's a different version than the one that I did for the pages, my collected pages here. It's different punctuation, which I realized like partway through, and I was like, oh, okay. That's awesome. I love that it's not even consistent. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's where I leave you. And so we are here. We rest with the knowledge of how long this could take. And I hope you carry that with you for the rest of your life, because I know I will. Well, I hope you enjoyed me talking about this. If you did, feel free to stick around. I haven't posted since December of last year, so it's been 4 months since I've posted. So hopefully it will not take 4 months until I upload again. I do have some plans, but we'll see. I make these videos for fun, and I would like to keep it fun. So I would like to not impose yet another schedule that will make me feel dead inside upon this channel. So that is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to stick around, feel free and subscribe. I'm gonna go lie down. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.